Another day in this shit life. I can't be bothered even waking up anymore. Am I selfish for thinking the way I am? Am I selfish for thinking the way I am? I'm psychologically and mentally drained. I'm sick of the negativity. I'm sick of the negativity. I need to get away from everyone, everything. What is the point? What is the point? I need to get away from everyone, everything. I need to get away from everyone and everything. Why can't I be happy? Today is the day. I'm going to do it. No more problems. Nobody else's problems. I'm going to do this for myself, for once. 1, 2, 3.
So my name's Sean Collins. I'm a mental health practitioner. Now, that's a term used for people who work for the NHS in mental health services. The particular mental health service I work for is CAMS, and that's an acronym for Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services. I've been working in mental health services in general for the last maybe 6 or so years. I think we are all on a continuum of ups and downs in terms of our mental health. People seem to think that, only certain people have mental health. We all have mental health. On good days like today, when it's beaming outside and I was driving with some quality tunes on, because I only listen to good music, my mental health is at the good end of the spectrum. Now, I'll say this to everyone that I work with, things happen through our lives. People call them triggers, people call them life events, it could be other things, there could be kind of genetic dispositions passed on from parents, difficulties, in the womb and all this kind of stuff as to what makes a person's mental health more sensitive or less sensitive to difficulties. But whatever it is, we all will have shit times. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but we'll all have shit times. So I suppose bringing it back to me, I suppose my development and my kind of growing up, like most people's really, was difficult at times. And being quite a solitary person, I didn't always go out and ask for help. So for me, it was a case of trying to find out for myself what was going on in terms of the way I think about the world, the way I think about myself, the way I think about other people, and how does that impact on what I do? Why was my life good at some times? Why was it bad at some times? So yeah, I think there's two things there. There's the two things that motivate. I think I'm probably wired up somewhere inside to be a person who wants to help others. You could probably see that in my personal life, but also there's more kind of experiential things that have happened throughout my life that made me want to know a little bit more about me. Mixing the two together, learning about what makes me tick, wanting to help other people, kind of led me to psychology. A psychotic level of meaning, people would say happiness, but it's beyond happiness, it's beyond being excited, it's beyond being aroused, it's almost to a point of a psychotic episode. And experiencing experiences things like that, and then experiencing really manic lows and kind of acute, intense depression. So that'd be bipolar. It's generally worked with by psychiatrists and medication. So again, like I was saying, there's lots of stuff that goes before we have this conversation. What would happen is people would call that a mental illness. So that wouldn't be considered, that'd be something a bit more acute than having a mental health problem. It'd be considered a mental illness, and sometimes people have to go to hospital.
My name's Joanne Whitfield. I've got bipolar and probably body dysmorphia. Undiagnosed because of my own feelings towards it, and I'll just take medication to keep on top of it.
How do you feel knowing that you've got bipolar?
I used to hate it and I used to keep it a secret and was really embarrassed about it, but now I'm proper on my medication. It took me years and years and years to actually take my medication because I was a bit embarrassed about it. But now I know how much I need it, so I just take it every single day.
Have you ever considered therapy, and was there any professionals involved?
I've done therapy a good few times. I've heard off a lot of people that you've got to find the right person. So obviously I've just never met that right person. But I had a very good doctor, and we got the medication spot on. So if I take my medication, I'm totally fine. Still have dips. But if I miss one day, then I'm thrown off completely. The next day, it's just awful.
How does it like make you feel?
Well, physically, because the medication's so high, I was on fluoxetine for 80 milligrams, which isn't legal. 60 milligrams for bulimia. But they put me on 80, and it just worked, and we did it for years, and I was happy on it. Then I moved house, so I had to move doctors. So they put me on. They said I wasn't allowed that; it's not legal. So they tried me on these ones that I'm on now. So I'm on the highest dose of them. I think I'm on 275 milligram of Venser. But because it's so high, it's not like the other ones. If I miss one, even if I miss, I've got to take them in the morning. Even if I forget them, take them at tea time. Like yesterday, I forgot to take them in the morning. So by tea time, I was full-blown bipolar. I just act really weird. I'm up, down, up, down, up, down. Everyone can tell. But if I don't take them for a whole day, the next day, it's like physical symptoms. So I get like, if I move my head, all the colours move with me. It feels like my head's not on my body. It's horrible. So because of that, because of the really bad side effects, I never not take it now. So it's more the physical side effects makes me take it.
What are your views on medication? Like, would you?
I used to say it's ridiculous. It's a waste of the NHS. I don't agree with it, but I've come to terms with it now. It took years, probably 5 years ago. I was messing about, not taking it, and it was just making my life worse. Because then I'd go off on one. I got myself in a lot of debt because just spending finance and stuff like that. And now it's right. If I miss a few days, I will end up on the internet buying some kind of crap. Really intense feelings of happiness and sadness constantly. So now I know that if you're bipolar, you do need to take medication if it works, and I'm not embarrassed of it anymore.
When did you realise that you about your mental state?
Well, I was bulimic from the age of 9. Made it up myself. Obviously, we didn't have internet and know about anything. It was a natural thing. It was a real illness, and I was bulimic till I was 19 when I fell pregnant, and then I ate properly. I took my first overdose at 14. No one was involved at that point. It was all a big secret. And then when I got pregnant, I had a lot of mental health issues. Couldn't do anything about it. I was very, very suicidal. Couldn't do anything about it because I had the baby. So as soon as the baby was born, then obviously I took a lot of overdoses. Luckily, they weren't successful.
So how do you feel about it now? Like,
I've got to the point now where I'm open about it. I talk to people about it. If my patients at work, I know someone, I'm quite open about it. I'm not embarrassed anymore.
I'm Gemma Whitfield, and my sister is bipolar.
how did you find out that your sister had bipolar?
God, I don't know. She's always been a bit odd. She's always had her quirky ways, and you always knew there was something. Like even when she was little, her mind, like she would only eat certain coloured foods and only beans with cheese in, and just only yellow and red food. So you always knew from a young age there was something. But then it was mainly when she'd had Elliot, and it went a bit off the rails. A few years before that.
How old was she when she had Elliot?
19. So a few years before that, she'd been doing silly things, and then when she'd had Elliot, I think the first time I found that she'd tried to do it was when Elliot was born, because I heard him drop off her bed, and she took tablets, and I ran up, and because we didn't know much about it, I had a real go at her and said, if you're going to do it, don't do it. And my nephews then took baby away, but then things got a bit better. Well, they went worse, and then they got better.
How did it make you feel knowing that she has mental health issues?
Just helpless, because you can't do anything. So whatever I do, nothing can help what's in her head.
What's it like living with bipolar?
Oh God, yeah, because I did used to live with her. She was all... 1 minute she'd be happy as Larry, laughing and joking, eating Chinese, and then she'd be like crying, having to go back in the hospital and stuff. So yeah, it wasn't the easiest. And as well, I had Elliot while she was a little boy, so she thinks he slept through, and he didn't. I did all the night feeds because she was off her balance on a medication.
feel like the medication has helped, Joanne?
Yeah, and as soon as she's not had it, me and Mum, like, we ring each other and go, she's not had it. We know she's not had it.
So would you recommend for other people?
My thing that I've always said about Joanne, because at first she didn't want to take tablets, I said if you were diabetic, you'd take insulin. Yours is a medical thing. You need it just to bring you level. It's not, that's just what your body needs.
Do you think it's something to be ashamed of?
No, not at all. And the more people hide it, the worse it gets.
Why do you think people are so afraid of speaking about mental health?
I don't know, it's a taboo, isn't it? It's like, oh, she's crazy or he's doing this. It's like, if people spoke about it, they can deal with it a lot better. If Joanne had said it earlier, we could have caught her earlier. If she'd have said it when she was a teenager. But then it wasn't like, no one spoke really about it.
So when I'd got on the medication, my mum wanted to keep an eye on me, so she got me a job in her work, which is an optician's, and I researched a little bit, and there was a degree to be an optical dispenser. So I asked my boss, and he agreed to fund it, and I went and did that. Even with a broken back, I was really determined that I was going to finish the course. Did all that, so now I am an optician. Got my little boy, he's got problems, and I'm really able to deal with them. Got my own flat, my own car, get on with life really well.
The other things you mentioned were OCD and depression. OCD again would kind of fall under an anxiety disorder, and is characterised by obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviours. And those obsessive thoughts are often really difficult and disturbing thoughts, often. But they don't have to be, but it's sometimes what that thought means to that person. And that's where the difficulty arises. If that thought that comes into a person's mind means to them that it's really difficult and unbearable, then that person would have to try and find a way to manage that and cope with that. Now, sometimes people don't have healthy coping strategies or appropriate coping strategies, and they might find another way to manage that distorted, uncomfortable thought, or what that thought means to that person, which makes them feel uncomfortable. Yeah, and usually they'd find a behaviour to try and manage that discomfort. Okay, now if they find that behaviour seems to work, then that behaviour could become compulsive. So they'd have to do it all the time because they're fearful that that negative thought that led to them feeling that they can't cope with that negative thought and then feeling really uncomfortable, they found that this behaviour seems to make it go away. In reality, there's some distorted thinking about that thought, distorted thinking about how that behaviour can manage that thought. In reality, what we can do, we can actually talk through that thought, talk through what that means to that person and come to a more rational understanding that doesn't lead to a person doing some compulsive behaviours. Some of those compulsive behaviours would be things that we see on TV, like people washing their hands and being very organised, or tapping or counting, which don't actually stop the problems, but seem like they do to the person. If we wanted to, we could probably flip this board over and get that pen and keep writing until it was dry. Vinny could have a load of things as well that would be different from what you would have. There's so many things that can impact on a person's mood being down. But sometimes mood problems and mood difficulties are a type of depression, because there's so many different other ones or different ways it presents that it'd be quite hard to go into now. But a lot of the key key people who have written and experimented around depression would say that's some of the key things, or two things that pop out of my mind today are some form of loss, so feeling like they've lost something. So it could be a person, it could be a part of their behaviour, it could be anything that they feel I've lost. It could be their masculinity if they've, something negative's happened. These things often lead a person to kind of feel depressed. And in that, it leads to people feeling quite hopeless about the future. That's another key perspective about depressed people. When they look forward into the future, where another person might think, oh, things are bad, but I'll be able to get over it. Or actually my future looks really good. A depressed person can't see any happiness. And it almost makes their current experience feel completely pointless and futile. And what's the point? If my future's going to be shit, why bother? And that can drive a lot of kind of depressive episodes.
My name's Claire and my daughter suffers depression and OCD.
How did you find out your daughter had depression and OCD?
Because she had a breakdown, like a mental breakdown, and then she got took to a place called CAMS that's children for mental health for children. We took her to CAMS and then they diagnosed her with depression and OCD.
How did it make you feel?
Sad, hurt, rubbish, guilty.
Why did it make you feel guilty?
Because I thought it was something that, because I had depression, I thought it was maybe because of me that she got it as well.
What is it like living with depression?
It's up and down.
Is it hard?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, can be, or has been.
Are they on any medication?
Yeah, she's on fluoxetine, which they give for children they give for young people under 18. It's the only antidepressant they'll give them.
How did this make you feel, her being on medication?
Not relieved, but before that, she tried to kill herself a couple of months before she got put on the medication. So I did feel relieved that she was on the medication at 6, because she was 16 then. So we had to go and see a psychiatrist every month who prescribed us the tablets for her.
What is she like when she doesn't take the tablets?
Sad, really low, quite quiet, tired.
Do you think it's something to be ashamed of, having mental health?
No, not at all. Certainly not.
How has this affected the family?
Very hard at first, because it affected my youngest daughter. To see her sister like so sad and upset and crying all the time, it affected my mum, my sisters. It's just affected us all. It took complete control of everything of all our lives. It was like hard, and it was like walking around on eggshells, not knowing what the right thing to do was or the right thing to say. But now since she's been on the medication, it's a lot easier. She's a lot easier to live with, should I say.
My name's Kenya and I suffer with depression and OCD, and this is my story. I basically made this documentary to show people with depression, bipolar, OCD and every other mental health issue that it's nothing to be ashamed of. You're not alone and help's there if you need it. And it should be talked about, like, it's not something that should be swept under the carpet. It's something that should be known and spoke about, and I'm glad that I got to share my views with everybody, and I hope you liked it.